Hi everyone, this is the video for PowerPoint 4. We're going to cover nonverbal delivery. And the thing about nonverbal delivery in your presentations that you may not have considered is that there's actually two different channels. There's the visual channel, which you're probably familiar with. That's your actions, your appearances, your facial expressions, gestures, things like that, anything that's related to your physical appearance. But the other channel that you may not have considered is the oral channel. Vocalizations that form to accompany spoken words. Obviously, these sounds come from your mouth, but they're classified differently than spoken words. It's also important that we look at the functions of nonverbal communication, why we use it. Researchers have identified several ways in which nonverbal communication works together with the spoken words, the verbal component of a speech. There really are four primary functions of nonverbal communication. One is to clarify a verbal message, and that's because the same words spoken with different body movements or different vocal emphases convey many different meanings. And then the second is this idea that nonverbal communication can facilitate feedback. Need to be alert to the cues that listeners use to communicate their pleasure or displeasure with a message. The third is you need to establish relationships between the speaker and the audience. And that's what nonverbal behaviors do. They allow us to adjust our relationship with the audience and establish this level of closeness and familiarity. And the fourth is to establish your credibility as a speaker. Audiences are often more readily persuaded by speakers who emphasize this vocal variety that use different vocal cues, eye contact, nodding, things like that, and standing with an open body position, open to the audience. Next, we're going to talk about body language. Audience members are quick to detect discrepancies between what you say and how you say it. For example, like your facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, things like that can give you away. And your general body movement, your dress and objects, all of those things help to persuade an audience. So first, let's talk about facial expressions. By our facial expressions, an audience can gauge whether or not we're excited about it, a topic, or indifferent about it, or if we just don't really want to be talking about it at all. Eye contact, it's really good to maintain eye contact. And it's mandatory in establishing a positive relationship with your audience. Scanning is this ability to move across an audience with your eyes from one audience member to the next while you're speaking and making eye contact with them. Next, we'll talk about gestures: head, arm, hand, leg gestures. All clarify the meanings of our words by filling in the gaps, expressing size or shape of something, expressing depth of emotion, even adding emphasis to things like 1, 2, 3. General body movement is good. Audience members may tire of a talking head that remains in just one place, sustained for a very long time behind a podium. So you should try to, when you can, move around, but not to be so rigid that it bores your audience. Next, you want to look at how you're dressed. The first thing an audience tends to notice is your clothing. So avoid the distractions of clothing that may be unprofessional, especially if you're giving a professional business presentation. Try to avoid using distracting props like pens, glasses of water, open briefcases, things like that. Next, let's talk about your voice, which is, again, the aural channel, A-U-R-A-L, not oral, but aural, the aural channel. Your voice should express who you are and engage listeners. Volume is the relative loudness of your voice when you're speaking, and loudness is kind of tricky because it depends on the size of the room and the number of people who are there. The availability of a microphone. If you don't have one, you have to be a little bit louder if it's a big room. And obviously any kind of background noise that's going on. You need to be concerned about pitch. Pitch is the range of sounds that come from your mouth, from high to low. It conveys mood. reveals a kind of a level of enthusiasm or excitement about the topic, expresses concern for the audience, and then also signals your overall commitment to the occasion and to the business presentation. The rate is very important. Speaking rate kind of gets people to know a little bit about how excited you are about the topic, but the speed with which the speaker talks is the actual rate. The goal there, though, is to vary the speaking rate. Sometimes you need to slow down, maybe to emphasize a point, but most public speeches are delivered at about 120 words per minute. Pausing adds emphasis to whatever you're talking about. So it punctuates meaning, it adds emphasis to a point, it draws attention to key points, to main points, and some to important subpoints. And it's a moment for listeners to sit and contemplate about what you're saying, what you're talking about. We use pauses instead of vocal fillers, those like unnecessary, undesirable phrases such as "you know" and "it's like" and which I do a lot. I do a lot of ums, but that's why we use vocal fillers instead of those phrases. Vocal variety is important. It refers to the way that the volume, the pitch, the rate, the pauses all kind of work together to create this effective delivery. And then finally, pronunciation and articulation. Pronunciation is the correct formation of word sounds. So you want to make sure that you're saying words correctly. And articulation is the clarity or forcefulness with which sounds are made. So you want to be very articulate. Pronounce the words correctly and articulate well. So hope this helps. And now you're ready for video number 5, I believe. Good luck.